In the heart of London, on the north side of Regent's Park, is ZSL London Zoo.
Look for meerkats now!
Nearly 200 years ago, the Zoological Society of London invented the name zoo here. So this has a claim to be the oldest zoo in the world.
Oh, that is just seriously nasty.
ZSL has two sites, one in Regent's Park and one 30 miles north in Whipsnade. They keep a collection of 21,000 wild animals.
You learn one thing quite early on, and that's never to look up with your mouth open.
800 species from all four corners of the world, and 800 staff looking after them day and night.
They haven't got many manners, they burp loads, they fart loads. On cue.
But it's the survival of the fittest every day of the week.
Oh dear. A horrible looking spine.
These are the life and death stories of the zoo. The year didn't start well for ZSL's London Zoo. Cold weather meant visitor numbers and revenue were down. The zoo has always relied on its iconic animals to attract the crowds. And it's hoping that once again, when spring comes, the animals will bring back the visitors. At the centre of the zoo is Gorilla Kingdom. It's the showcase exhibit, and it cost £5 million.
That's so exciting, isn't it, Eff? Effie loves the windows being done. She gets so excited, don't you, Eff? Even just the foamy bits. How can anything so simple be so exciting?
Keeper Dan Simmons gave up a hugely well-paid job as a city trader to fulfill his lifetime's ambition to work with gorillas.
I used to be really money motivated. I was much younger. It was all very exciting. And obviously city's a great place to make loads of money. You might be able to drive a Porsche, have a really nice flat or house somewhere, and hate your job, but practically live in the office your entire life. So I'd much rather do something that I enjoy and perhaps have less toys to show for it. I love my job. I've said it so many times. It's a boring broken record. Some of the novelty of my first day at the zoo I still get today, genuinely.
And now Dan's got a new arrival at Gorilla Kingdom, all the way from a zoo in France. He's called Yeboah. He's a young male western lowland gorilla.
Settle down, you can have yours afterwards. Wait a second, please.
Yeboah's been brought into the zoo as a mate for their three females, Effie, Zaire and Mijuki.
I think they were beautiful. Look at him, I think he's gorgeous.
His arrival is one of the most important events at the zoo this year.
You have 2,000-3,000 people, you send the big man out and you can actually hear from in here time and time again people literally gasping. You can't deny it, they are pretty amazing. Gorillas are always going to have a sort of a different appeal. There's a huge amount of public interest, press interest is massive.
What about Yeboah in particular? I mean, what's the story behind him?
Yeboah is quite a sort of young, active male, and he's going to start growing big. We might even get to see some gorilla mating.
Yeboah is only a teenager, but he's reaching sexual maturity.
Yeboah is definitely not shy. They're like humans, they mate, but they also do a lot of foreplay, which is very similar to humans, and they do a lot of stuff. Kids, has anybody got any questions about anything that you can see now that you're not sure about? It's a sex education on the cheap.
The gorillas are key to the zoo's future, and much of the responsibility for the future of both of ZSL zoos falls onto the shoulders of Zoological Director David Field. Much of his time is spent in management and administration, but his heart remains with his first love.
Cokes!
She happens to be at ZSL's Whipsnade Zoo.
Cokes! What you got there?
I've known Coco since I must have been about 12. I started my zoo life as a volunteer at Dudley Zoo, and one of the first ones I met was that madam. Whenever I'm having a bad day in the zoo, I come to my best confidant and talk to her about it. And that's the same with all the guys that are working in the zoos. They have huge attachments to the animals that they work with. It's not so far to say that they become part of your family in some respects.
Keepers form attachments to all creatures, small, medium, and large.
You got one? The last one is always the most difficult.
At the smaller end, the bird section in Regent's Park may not attract the same crowds as the other sections, but headkeeper Adrian Walls wouldn't work anywhere else.
You tell people you're a zookeeper and they ask you, what animals do you do in the zoo then? When you turn around and say we look after birds, you know, they automatically think, well, maybe we should be looking after the tigers, you know, we maybe should be looking after the snakes or something that's a bit more manly, but, you know, my favourite bird is the hummingbird, you know, and you can't get any smaller and daintier than that, really, can you?
Adrian understands that to the public, feathers are never going to appeal like fur.
Straight up. Go and see his mates.
But he knows which animals he likes best.
There's lots of places in the zoo that you can walk around and you can actually interact fairly closely with the birds. You can't actually get hands-on with most of the birds, in fact all the birds, but you can actually be in their environment. You can't do that with a gorilla. You know, you can't have a gorilla fly past you or fly between your legs, you know, or dive bomb you or, you know, something like that. So yeah, no, I personally think birds, you know, are a big pull for the zoo. I would never say the best section in the zoo, but I do hear a lot of people saying that it is the best section in the zoo, so, you know, must be.
The bird section does have one iconic creature that always attracts a crowd. Penguins have lived at the zoo for 150 years. Deputy head birdkeeper Tim Savage has recently had to hand-rear a penguin chick because it was abandoned by its parents.
He was kicked out of his nest box. So he was around really cold. He'd been beaten up a little bit as well because penguins are quite aggressive. So we fed him up and nursed him back to health. He's doing really well now. He's still got a tiny bit of his baby fluff on the back of his neck there.
Today, he's taking the chick to the zoo's vets for a checkup.
He's not got a name. I think he's given him a name. It's a bit early for that, really.
He may not have a name, but that doesn't mean that Tim isn't fond of him.
We've handled him from when he was like 6 weeks old. A lot of the keepers become a little bit attached to him, you know. But he is quite sweet.
He's not losing his...
Tim's leading the chick with Ty Strike, one of the 4 vets employed at the on-site veterinary surgery.
Okay, Angel. You can go for the right jugular and see what we've got. It's not great, babe.
The chick has had a fungal condition that was affecting its breathing. But now that it's grown, Ty is concerned about its posture.
You can see his posture is really quite hunched. Even when he's kind of getting up to walk, it warrants having a quick anaesthetic and getting a proper view, pulling the spine out nicely and having a good look at how much deformity is there. We may have to make a decision on sort of his outcome based on that X-ray.
A severely deformed penguin will be rejected by the other birds. So the X-rays will decide its fate. When the X-rays come back, they confirm Ty's worst fears.
It's not bad radio, right?
Not a bad radiograph, but a dreadful spine. Oh, bless him.
Tim returns to hear the news.
primary problem was what we suspect is Aspergillus, which is a fungus that affects the lungs and air sacs. He's also got a bit of a heart murmur and a horrible looking spine.
Tim and Ty face a tough choice.
So at the end of the day, if he goes out with a group, you know what they're like.
No, they just won't give him a go.
They'll give him a hard time, and he just have a really sort of
horrible life.
not a brilliant life. So we're giving him all we can, and unfortunately, we have to make this decision.
The end is inevitable. Putting the chick down now while it's still under general anaesthetic is the kindest thing.
You've got to be realistic at the way you look at these things. With the sadness, you get other things, like we've got more babies there to go on and breed and take the population further. And this is one, unfortunately, who never made it. And that's life, really.
Coming over?
Animals are born, live, and inevitably die at the zoo.
Who's that? Who's the pretty girl in the mirror? Who's this, Si? Eh?
But every keeper gets particularly excited by the prospect of a new birth.
And right side is her best side.
The zoo hasn't had a baby gorilla in 22 years. But with the arrival of Yeboah, a virile young male, that could all be about to change.
And every day, while 5,000 people stroll through the gardens, the staff behind are about their 101 task.
In the black and white but golden days, London Zoo had little competition. Regardless of the weather, thousands flocked through the gates at Regent's Park. The zoo appealed equally to the man in the street and to the princess in her palace. Here, before she became queen, Princess Elizabeth enjoys a day out at the zoo. But in the last 10 years, ZSL has moved many of its larger animals, like bears and elephants, to its more spacious quarters at Whipsnade. And once popular events like the Chimpanzees Tea Party are certainly not attractions here anymore.
Everybody okay? Good girls,
But fortunately for London Zoo, there may soon be a new attraction at Gorilla Kingdom. Male gorilla Yeboah has only been at the zoo for a short while, but he's already mated with 2 of the 3 females.
Majuku was the first to mate with him, and we sort of left them on their own just so they could fully bond, and that's sort of normal practice, let them bond together. Then yesterday, for the first time, he mated Effie in the gym, so it was paradise for Effie last night. Sometimes he just gets a bit fed up and he wants a rest.
It's been more than 20 years since London last had a baby gorilla, so keepers like Dan are desperate for one of the females to fall pregnant.
These are just regular human pregnancy tests, same ones you buy in the supermarket. Imagine how awkward this is for me having to go into Sainsbury's and buy 15 of these at a time. But we do anyway. I've got some urine which I've literally just collected from Majuku, and it's exactly the same as you would do with a human pregnancy test, just dip and wait. So I'll dip it in, feel like a nervous father or a very, very nervous boyfriend, one or the other. So we've got the lines coming up now. We've got 1 line, and we've got 2 lines, so we have a pregnant gorilla, which is fantastic. By having a baby gorilla, it enriches the lives of the existing gorillas massively. You can just imagine, just from a human point of view, if you've got an established family and suddenly you have a young baby coming into the family, the way that changes in such a positive way the dynamic of a human family. But then as well, having a baby gorilla obviously increases visitor numbers massively, which is great, and that's part of the bigger picture. So these couple of lines aren't really just a couple of lines.
The bigger picture is that the Zoological Society is a wildlife conservation charity without government funding. It needs to generate £40 million a year to continue the conservation work it does around the world. In a difficult economic environment, a baby gorilla should provide a real marketing boost. Every commercial opportunity is exploited, and even the least popular animals are turned into money spinners. The bugs department run a course for arachnophobes. For £110 you can be hypnotised and hopefully cured of your spider fears.
Can't live on my own because of it, and I'm 32, so I need to sort it out really, don't I?
It was my 40th birthday in November and I asked to come here as a present. So
Well, there was two arachnophobes living in the same house. So one jumps and the other one jumps, and then we're trying to work up to use the bravest to actually tackle these things.
Has there been anybody else paying on the day?
No.
Spider lover Dave Clark is the keeper responsible for the course. But before it begins, he's got one vital job to do.
What I'm going to do now is just do a last check in the room that there aren't any spiders. Because the last thing we want is any spiders suddenly running out from the side of the room when we've got a load of arachnophobia who haven't been cured yet. It happened once. Never again. There was like a Mexican wave of people moving away from the front.
For people like Alethea, arachnophobia can be dangerous.
I want it gone. I want to not have to look for spiders. I want to not have the reaction when I do see one. I've almost smashed up a car. That was only a little one.
Little car.
No, a little spider.
Where are spiders a problem?
The zoo provides the spider expertise, but hypnotist John Clifford attempts to provide a cure.
You will just feel pleasantly relaxed, and at all times you are completely in control. For some people, what we do here now will be instantaneous.
If the hypnotism works, the arachnophobes should be able to cope with the climax. A visit to the bugs exhibit, and a meeting up close and personal with Polly, the tarantula.
Nice sunny day for it though, isn't it? Walking around in the zoo. I mean, who wouldn't want to come into work on a Monday morning and just wander through this?
Most zookeepers have to move around sections. Not so Adrian. He's had an eye for the birds ever since he was a boy.
Yeah, it's not an obsession, but I like to do it everywhere I go. And I like to think about it all the time, so I'm not obsessed by it in any way. So you want to go home and eat chicken? Or watch David Attenborough, Life of Birds? Go on holiday, bird in spots? Where are you going on holiday this weekend, Alison? You going to Scotland? What are you going to go and see in Scotland?
If you see some
Puffins, see? Where are we going on holiday? We always choose somewhere where we're going to go and see birds. No point in going otherwise, is there? Hi-ho!
But even Adrian admits that not all birds in the collection are big draws.
Owls are generally one of the species that we work with that are quite boring. They just kind of sit there, they don't do much. I think they're quite wise because they just sit and wait for prey to come to them a lot of the time, whereas other animals hunt out their prey, which is why would you want to spend all that energy running down and hunting out your prey? Ideally, like pizza delivery guy. If I sit at home, phone him up, pizza delivery guy comes to me and I eat the food, rather than me going all the way down to the Sainsbury's, buying the dough, going all the little bits that go on to what's the point? Al waits for Mr. Pizza Delivery Guy, who's the keeper, to come in and feed them. I want pizza now.
Pizza recipe.
No. I cooked dinner last night, funny enough. Can't remember, it was awful. I should have got a pizza.
For London Zoo's 14,000 animals, food is delivered in all shapes and sizes.
This will be long food. Always try and leave a bit of hair on the meat.
For the carnivores, there's red meat from the local knacker's yard.
This is a leg off of a pony. That's basically where his foot was.
Chickens!
There's poultry, fresh from the butchers for the big cats. And the vegetarians enjoy fruit and greens fresh from the supermarket wholesalers. This year, the food bill was nearly £1 million.
Chicory, this costs about £250 a week, but it's all really expensive. It's all good quality stuff, and the grillers love it.
And in 8 months, if all goes well, there'll be another mouth to feed. The first gorilla baby to be born at the zoo in more than 20 years. Vet Ty Strike will be looking after pregnant female Majuku during her 8.5-month pregnancy.
First time I've noticed her nipples.
The nipples are
actually
really
now really come up. I saw it really about 3 weeks ago when we were doing training.
Yeah. It's weird though because
That's the first time I've seen
her mammary glands don't seem to be any bigger. It's just her nipples are growing on their own. So.
And she's eating normally now again. She's not being fussy.
No, she's fine. I mean, the morning sickness is gone, so far so good.
And as long as we start seeing more growth, yeah, we're quite happy everything's on track. Oh, that was our Bobby.
Last year, the previous male, Bobby, died unexpectedly.
Bobby was our previous silverback. He was a nice big chunky boy, fully grown, fully silvered up. Yeah, he was a lovely boy, really gentle giant, very, very sweet. Came from a kind of a difficult background, but he settled in beautifully. And I think this was the first time when he was on Gorilla Island, it was the first time he could look up and see the stars with no bars over his head, which was just lovely to think. And unfortunately he passed away with heart failure, which kills a lot of adult male silverbacks. People aren't sure why. There are a lot of studies into it. It's a big loss when you lose them, and the females obviously feel it as well, because it's suddenly the group is kind of just left without a leader.
For every species, the zoo has a keeper who is passionate.
These are baby stick insects. This is a jungle nymph.
Dave Clark has looked after bugs for over 20 years.
Most people grow up as kids liking bugs and then kind of grow out of it. A lot of us just didn't grow up, so we still see how amazing they are. Yeah, isn't that beautiful? People like animals like monkeys and stuff because of that anthropomorphic thing. They can see themselves in there. But to me, these are all the more fascinating because they're so different. And in many cases, people judge them as being alien.
For Dave, working in the zoo is about sharing an obsession. But with an audience of arachnophobes, he has a challenge. The big question is whether the hypnosis supplied at the zoo is going to work. Before the hypnosis session, most of these people couldn't even say the word spider. Now, they're visiting the bugs exhibit at the zoo.
Really, really, really don't like this. Wasn't expecting this at all.
Could I just get everybody's attention for a second, please?
Dave doesn't let their anxieties dampen his enthusiasm for his 8-legged friends.
Now this is Polly, and Polly is a red-kneed spider. Now she is what everybody would call a tarantula.
Oh my god, I can actually see all the hairs on his legs.
The course does boast an 80% success rate, and everyone's got to try and hold Polly, even Alethea.
Heart rate's going enormously. Clammy, yeah.
Don't think that you're not doing well, because you're doing brilliantly. I can tell you are going to kick yourself if you don't do this.
Look, I'm closer. That's the step.
Great. You're in the right position to have a Polaroid taken.
Just put your hands out like that.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay,
one foot on your thumb. Okay. Then we'll just bring us slowly into your palm. Just like that. There we go. You're not going to drop her, are you? Okay. There we go.
Raise your hands a bit and a big smile at me.
Thank God everybody isn't as difficult as you are.
I've done it. I never, ever in my life thought I was going to have that.
This one-day course has raised over £4,000 for the zoo. But for Dave, it's not the money that matters.
A lot of these people, just because of their fear, would have killed spiders rather than left them around, because then ultimately the source of their fear is gone. I mean, it's one of the reasons for doing it.
Any zoo is the world in microcosm. The whole cycle of life and death plays out behind its gates. But where there's birth and the promise of new life, there's also the threat of serious illness. In Gorilla Kingdom, there's a crisis. It seems that the male, Yeboah, may be seriously ill. Blood has been found in his urine, and the vets have put him under a general anaesthetic so that they can carry out tests.
Please go and have a look if we can move on.
Yeboah is an important animal, so the zoological director, David Field, has been called in.
We'll just have a quick see where he's going at. There was a discharge. Apparently that could be relevant for glucose levels, so something like that. The anaesthetic is going well. His vitals are remaining strong, etc. He's got a blood problem. It means that he's not carrying such good oxygen around his blood. We've given an empirical dose of insulin, so that blood glucose has gone up again, so we're going to keep him on the anaesthetic for as long as we can. Did I say how many fluids have got in? Oh, not yet, no.
The animals are so important, we can't afford any mistake with their health. With the signs that he's been having, this is something we really need to do. I hope that there's nothing wrong with him. Very traumatic.
The zoo has already lost one gorilla. They don't want a repeat of what happened to Bobby. In order to compete for visitors with other attractions in the capital, London Zoo has constantly to reinvent itself. Big new attractions cost, so the old small mammal house is being converted into a tropical rainforest. To save money, the keepers are using their special talents, like the ability to create fake trees.
Doing like a wireframe with a bit of poly and some form of fill, and then we render it the first time. If this went out to contract, they would be charging, tens of thousands of pounds to do it. It's the biggest tree I've built so far. Just got about another 48 to go.
That's amazing. If we come to Zoo Consultancy Company, that will be costing you the best part of 100,000 quid.
Yes.
The zoological director, David Field, is showing his boss, Director General Ralph Almond, around the soon-to-be-completed exhibit.
You will be getting a very kind of humid atmosphere. All these new sprays, they're all misters. You will come into an almost 100% humidity. You'll be hit by a rainforest feel.
After a medical crisis, London Zoo's male gorilla, Yeboah, is recovering from his emergency anaesthetic. Blood was found in his urine, and he's being kept in isolation while vets wait for test results.
Alright, you have yours here then. At the moment he's just he's fine, but he's just a bit dozy still, which is kind of understandable, so we'll probably leave him in there for the rest of today. It's just a nice environment for him, and it's kind of just a nice place for him to chill out.
Dan's also got Yeboah's 3 female companions to care for.
Just as much as it's important for us to keep an eye on the male, we're keeping an eye on the females as well. It's the uncertainty, because they're not quite sure exactly what's going on. And female gorillas like to have the male gorilla around, so that's a normal part of their society, so that would be the reason why. I wouldn't say they were depressed, they were perhaps a bit anxious, thinking, where is he?
Of course, Dan is especially concerned about pregnant Majuku, who, if all goes well, will be giving birth later this year to the very first baby gorilla he will ever have worked with. Head of Birds Adrian also has babies on his mind.
The one obvious thing today is King Vulture.
So we are getting very close to the time where it's going to hatch.
The bird section has a hugely successful breeding program, and their current priority is to raise a king vulture chick.
So we're all quite clear on what we're going to do. As soon as you see anything starting to hatch, just give me a tinkle and we'll come over there and remove the egg straight away. Yeah?
King vultures are colourful, popular birds, but they're notoriously hard to breed in captivity.
Early this year we managed to hatch a chick. You know, the following day when we went to check the nest, we noticed that the chick was missing. We believe that Dad did something to that chick as it was hatching, so we can't afford to lose that one, the next one, this year.
So the team plan to hand rear a chick away from Mum and Dad. They'll use a papier-mâché puppet to feed the chick so that it still thinks it's a vulture.
So at this point, it's quite an exciting point, but I must remember to keep my voice down and not get too excited.
The nest is checked daily. When the egg hatches, the chick will be removed.
I can have a little bit of work done. There we go.
It's a risky business.
So this is the female. She's come down here. Now I'm not going to get too close because she's got the capabilities in that beak to rip flesh away from my hand. They have been known to fly at people and to bite them. So, you know, we are a bit worried about it, but 9 times out of 10, it goes textbook. 9 times out of 10. Never 10 out of 10.
Hiya, my name's Lindsay. I'm ringing from the press office at London Zoo. We've got the press launch of our new rainforest exhibit tomorrow, and I was just wondering whether you guys would like to come along.
Press officer Lindsay Ford needs a big launch to guarantee free publicity for the zoo's new rainforest exhibit.
I've been trying to get press for it since January. It's our flagship exhibit for this year, so it's really important to get a lot of publicity for it. Getting a page in certain newspapers is worth a lot of money. We've got most of the national newspapers coming, unless something really bad happens tonight.
So I suppose we could give them 20 minutes up here to get photos.
But there may be a problem. The attraction's tropical climate, 35 degrees and 90% humidity, could be too hot for the hordes of the invited press, or even for the press officers.
It's hotter in here than it was yesterday, Lindsay.
My desert scarf.
It's the humidity, because we've worked on the humidity a lot more.
They haven't
quite hot.
I feel like I'm having a hot
I know, I feel like I've got menopause.
Do you get a fan? Should we bring a fan? What about a fan?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for visiting ZSL London Zoo today. The zoo is now closed.
Working in the zoo can be a 24-hour-a-day job. The work continues after the public have left. The vets have called an emergency meeting to discuss Yeboah, the male gorilla, who is still not very well.
The one thing that's throwing us a little is his blood glucose being so high. And
Found stickiness on the floor intermittently.
What could explain the high glucose is that he is diabetic. He's therefore more prone to infection. If he is diabetic, as we suspect, we have to measure everything he eats. And what we're seeing is not a classic complication of diabetes.
There seems not to be any one explanation for what has happened to Yeboah. But the vets and keepers are working in the shadow of his predecessor Bobby, who died suddenly 15 months ago.
The diaries, Bobby just wondering again, I know it's sort of speculating with Effie, there's a 4-week gap between mating with Effie, with Bobby, and then with 4 week, almost exactly 4 weeks. It's just a weird coincidence, that's all.
I don't want to draw the parallel saying this will lead to that. We've had 2 different animals, we've got 2 different ages, we've got a whole lot of very different histories to them. I know we just, unfortunately, have got the same symptom of the urine.
We still need to wait for the blood results because obviously we are speculating about everything we're going to find, and then we might be surprised that it might be somewhere else.
The vets and keepers are desperate for any answers that may help them treat Yeboah.
Andrea, do you want to have a look at this? Remember, there's 3 cells that look like little asteroids.
But all the answers they're getting are making them more and more concerned.
But basically he's breaking down his own red cells. Or his red cells have been broken down by his body. Yeah, once. In our previous gorilla. I think we're just really worried.
Open up shutters. Try and get them out.
Adrian has just received a call to say that the vulture egg may be hatching,
Have I got any gloves? Large gloves?
and the parents are behaving strangely.
I'll come in with you. Could be too late. I'm going to get the ladder, straight up the ladder. When they're in there, the girls are being bait. They're trying to get them out. But if he flies down on the floor, we're all right. But if he goes back to that nest, then you and I go in there, hell for leather, and rescue what's there. There you go.
The keepers have to get to the chick before the parents attack it.
Yeah, there's one coming out now. Right, everyone's going out now, so... The bad news is that there is an egg that's broken up there, but there is no chick. Just missed it. Just missed it by a few minutes. I think we were literally seconds too late.
Unfortunately for the bird team, history has repeated itself. The vultures have eaten their chick. It's a massive blow for the bird team. Raising a king vulture chick was their #1 target for the year.
You know, we've got all the utensils, 3 incubators, you know, a little hot box there so we can start to pre-digest the food and feed them. You know, as soon as that chick was there, it would have gone into there, you know, and we would have been ready to go. You know, it's taken us hours to do it and a lot of hard work and a lot of graft. Very, very bloody gutting.
No amount of preparation and planning, it seems, can prevent animals occasionally behaving like animals.
This is where you wish you had Dr. Dolittle and you could talk to them, or they could talk to you. Let you know exactly what's going on.
Today is the opening of the Rainforest exhibit. It's press officer Lindsay's job to make sure the media arrive in force to publicise the event.
So you want interviews primarily, yeah? This is Reuters TV, this is our zoological director and everything.
The zoo's hoping that the chance to see animals without barriers will be a strong selling point. Animals in the exhibit are free to roam over the walkways and even to approach the public. Even the normally reclusive sloths are on hand to make sure that the unveiling attracts maximum publicity.
And the sloth. The sloth. Sorry. SLOTH. My accent. For a long time.
Hello, good afternoon. Okay. Just keep it quiet for a moment while they're going on.
Just as things are going well, The zoological director gets an emergency call from Gorilla Kingdom.
Lost weight. Significant weight. The next few hours will be critical.
In the back dens, the vets are giving Yeboah another emergency general anesthetic. He's been struggling to move. He's severely dehydrated, and he's still passing blood in his urine. Yeboah's condition is now critical.
Malcolm, you're going to need as least disturbing friendly as possible. We are fairly certain that we have a diabetic episode. We also think there's other complications going on as well at the moment.
The zoo's most senior vet, Andrew Routh, and the whole veterinary team are working to save Yeboah.
Yeboah is a very iconic animal for us all here at the zoo, especially after the loss of Goldie. Vet team and the animal team have been fighting for hours to try and pull him through.
Visitors to Gorilla Kingdom have no idea of the crisis unfolding in the back dens.
That's Effie, that one over there. She's the middle of the three ladies. Majuku, who's just see her head in the cave there, can you? She's just coming out now.
Gorillas are highly intelligent, sensitive animals. Zaire, Effie, and pregnant Majuku do seem aware of Yeboah's absence. And then, what everyone feared finally happens.
He crashed. We tried everything we could to resuscitate him, including CPR, and did quite literally everything we could, but unfortunately he died. It's still hard, because I love all the animals that we work with. We all do, and we work so hard for them. And if they die, it's really hard.
Yeboah was only one of the thousands of animals in London Zoo. All animals are equal, but some, it seems, are more equal than others. In Gorilla Kingdom, keepers are coming to terms with death. New gorilla Yeboah has died of a mysterious illness.
My colleagues of you had some further questions about Yeboah, and I've actually got the zoological director David Field in here with me.
David Field is in the media manager's office because journalists have already got wind of the tragedy.
I'll be better. It's been a shock to all of us. It was all going so well. In a way, it's half a story at the moment because we don't know what he died of. We are just going through, turning over every stone, looking at our whole care, our whole veterinary care. To be honest, we really appreciate the chance to chat to you and get the complete picture across. Although it's not quite the complete picture until we get these results back. All right, David. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Keeper Dan Simmons is clearing out Yeboah's den for the last time.
Obviously he died, so we just want to make sure we just kind of get rid of everything where he sort of was. His bed, what we kind of call his bedroom. And yeah, it's a horrible job, and just kind of moving his food away at the moment, what would have been his dinner, it's just weird, it is strange.
In the zoo's post-mortem theatre, Yeboah's body is about to be examined.
Okay.
Cause of death has to be established for every animal that dies in the zoo.
Not every day do I deal with, a magnificent specimen like this. My job entails dealing with everything from elephants down to little potula snails, trying to find out what caused the death and also what other diseases are present.
Pathologist Ed Flack needs to establish why Yeboah died, and if there's any threat to the remaining 3 female gorillas.
From the clinical history, he's lost a fair bit of weight and condition, and we know he's had an anemia and he's possibly diabetic as well. The sac that the heart's in, called the pericardium, has got a lot of extra fluid in. It's definitely abnormal. There's far more fluid than there should be.
After 6 hours, there's evidence of a number of medical conditions, but no definite cause of death. The zoo may never know exactly what killed Yeboah. But as one animal leaves the zoo, others are arriving.
He likes the high-pitched whistles. But there's a scarlet-chested sunbird. So that chick's 9 days old. As you can see, it's getting a lot of his feathers. Just the one survivor. But the other one unfortunately died when it was about 2 to 3 days old, which is generally what's been happening. You get a bit disappointed, you get a bit frustrated, but I've still got one. Mum's building a nest again at the moment, so, the cycle starts again.
Life, and the inevitability of death, is the reality that everyone who works in the zoo has to accept.
At some point in that animal's life, it's going to pass on. So you always have to, in the back of your mind, that this thing may never be there the following day when you come in. Whenever you're dealing with livestock, you're technically dealing with dead stock as well.
As the summer crowds build at the zoo, Gorilla Kingdom is the main attraction.
He's getting jealous now.
With or without a male. For Dan, it has to be back to business as usual.
Lunchtime, ladies. Oh, pecans and sweet potato. Settle down. You can have yours afterwards. Wait a second, please. They haven't got many manners. They never say thank you. They fart loads. They burp loads. On cue. Terrible manners.
Yeboah may be gone, but he's not forgotten. Majuku is pregnant, and the first baby in 22 years will soon be born.
It is so sad that we lost Yeboah. But we've got 3 females, one of whom's pregnant to look after now. Juki's now nearly 5 months pregnant. Fingers crossed everything goes okay, and Yeboah will leave his little mark.
Next time, we discover that the gorilla is not the only pregnancy at ZSL zoos. An elephant is due to give birth. And there are plans to breed dragons.